Can you hear us, Prabhuji? It was coming from your side, Prabhuji. And now we can't hear you. I think you're on mute. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
you muted me. Can you hear me okay now?
Yes, we can hear you
I'm
now.
so sorry. I don't know how I rebooted my computer and somehow that started up. I thought it was something on your side. I
We
was
were
just
just
sitting
waiting
there
for you to,
waiting. Right, I understand. Please forgive me. I have no
correct.
idea where that came from.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for coming here today. Um, I remember long back in 2004, we had invited Prabhuji for the first time to our place in Bangalore. And that was the first time we got our first issue of Krishna Kathamrita Bindu. So uh, all my memories and my interactions with Madhavananda Prabhuji have always been so relishable because he takes us to a very different depth. Uh, at that time at home, he also sang this bhajan Khodani Tai in 2004. And that was the first time I had heard that bhajan Dalale Ragita. It was so beautiful. And this is what Prabhuji, I can introduce Prabhuji to all of you as somebody who takes us there. He helps us understand uh, a lot of depth about Krishna consciousness. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. We are eagerly waiting to hear from you.
Okay. I'm so sorry. That was so strange. I don't know why that thing started. I really thought it was coming from your side. Hare Krishna. So I'll just say a couple of prayers and I'll begin. Goragraganyagana gocha goloruharam Goranga gudatama gopyara kolpa briksham Gopalagada ratidam yati singha gora govinda deshika varam satatam namami Uttama adama kichuna bachila jachia dile kakola Kahe premananda hemana goranga hridoya dariya bola Bhaja goranga kaha goranga Laha gorangera namare Je jana goranga bhaje Se hoyamara pranare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Yashaiva Padambuja Bhakti Labhya Prema Bhidana Parama Pumata Tasmai Jagan Mangala Mangalaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Madgavirapi Gopala Sri Kuryat Kripaya Judi Tadaiva Sambhaya Pigva Rishe Yustat Priya Janaha Shri Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Sasanatana Rupaka Gopala Raghunatha Brajabala Bapahimam Vanchakalpatarubhischa Kripa Sindhubhya cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Brinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So thank you very much, Mataji. I really appreciate. I'm a little, feel a little in a difficult situation. Let me recite a verse to you from Hari Bhakti Vilas. This is Parasparam Goswami, Gopal Bhatta Goswami's presentation about japa. And it's actually a verse which many Vaishnavas use to offer their japa. Guyati guya gupta tvam Grihanasmat kritam japam. Siddhir bhavatu me deva twat prasadat twayi site. It's a prayer that, my dear Lord, uh, I'm offering this japa to you. And what is this thing? This is Guyati Guya Goptatvam. This is something which is the most confidential thing, right, that I'm offering to you. So this is our japa. It's something which is a very private, confidential thing. Just as in our movement, we have Bhagavatam class, we have some katha together, but we also read privately. Similarly, we also do kirtan together, but we also have private time with Nam, and that's japa. So to speak about such a thing, Rupa Goswami says, as Guyam Aketi Prichiti, is something very confidential, and is something which is required, a very important thing within our bhajan. So today I was thinking to just read to you the first 4 verses from Harinam Chintamani of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Very interesting verses, and just try to contemplate a little bit about why Bhaktivinoda Thakur has given these particular verses as a foundation, I'd like to suggest, for the entire book, because they're not externally about the holy name, but they are, if we contemplate on it. And we should consider why he's giving these particular verses. So, yeah, it's on. Bhaktivinoda Thakur begins with Mangalacharana, one verse describing offering obeisances to his worshipful deities. I'll go ahead and sing that to you. Gadai Gauranga Jaya Janava Jivan Sita Dvaita Jaya Shiva Sadi Bhakta Gan. And basically that's his Mangalacharana prayer. There's 3 types of Mangalacharana prayers. One of them is offering pranams. This is his pranams. Gadai Gauranga. He first offers obeisances to his worshipful deities of Gaur Gadadhar. Jai Janava Jivan. And then he offers obeisances to Nityananda Prabhu, who's Janava Jivan, who's the life of Janava Mata, because Bhaktivinoda Thakur comes in the line of Janava Mata. Sita Dvaita. Then he offers obeisances again to Sita Thakurani, the wife of Advaita Prabhu, along with her husband. And then he says, Jai Srivasadi Bhakta Gan. All glories to Srivas Thakur and all the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then in the next 3 verses, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he speaks about Jagannath Puri, he speaks about Jagannath, he speaks about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he speaks about the devotees. And we'd like to contemplate a little bit about these verses. I'll go ahead and put these. Oh, can you empower me to share the screen? Is that possible?
It's done.
Okay. In that case, then I'll share with you. You can look at these verses as we're singing along. Lavana Jaladi Tiri Nila Chale Shri Mandiri Dhadu Brahma Purusha Pradhan Jive Nistari Tehari Arche Bhavatari Bhoga Moksha Karina Pradhan Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama So this is how he begins his Harinam Chintamani, that describing about on the tire of the Lavana Jaladi, the salt ocean, Nila Chale Shri Mandiri, there you'll find in Jagannath Puri the Shri Mandir, the temple of Lakshmi Devi, wherein Lord Jagannath is staying and being worshipped there, as Daru Brahma Purusha Pradhan. He's the supreme Purush, And he's manifested in this wooden form. Why? Jive nisarite hari archa rupe avatari. He's come, he's descended to deliver Jive nisarite hari, to deliver all the living entities. Boga moksha karina pradan. And what is he pradan giving? Boga moksha. He's giving both material enjoyment and liberation. So this is his foundation, the Harinam Chintamani. Dame Sri Chaitanya Manave Korite Danya Sanyasi Rupete Bhagavan Kalite Jejuga Dhamma Bhujayate Tara Mama Kashi Mishagari Adishtam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Say Dame Sri Chaitanya. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in this Dham. He came to this place. So now we're getting an extra element. This Harinam Chintamani is based on Jagannath Puri and Lord Jagannath and on Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come here, Sannyasi Rupite Bhagavan. He's Bhagavan, but he's come in the form of a sannyasi, Manava Korite Danya, to give the greatest wealth to the living entities, which is Kalite Yuga Dharma. He's come to give the Yuga Dharma in Kali Yuga. Kashi Misha Gari Adishtan. He's staying there in the house of Kashi Misha. Am I okay? Can you hear me all right? Okay. So we'll go on to the next verse.
Yes, bro. Okay.
Nija Bhakta Brinda Loy, Nija Kopa Taru Hoy, Krishna Prema Dina Sarva Jane. Nana Mate Bhakta Muke, Bhakta Kata Sune Suke, Jiva Siksha Dina Suyatane. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. So what was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's business here? Nija Bhakta Brinda Loy. First thing Bhaktivinoda Thakur says about this, with his devotees, Mahaprabhu came. And what was the purpose? Nija Kolpataru Hoy. They're coming because they're Kolpataru. Vancha Kolpataru Jischa. He's indicating again and again that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, although he's Bhagavan, he's come in the form of a sannyasi, and he's come to give the Yuga Dharma, and he's doing that with his devotees. And he's doing something more. Krishna Prema Dena Sarvajani. With all those devotees, he's giving Krishna Prem. Nana Mate Bhakta Muke, Bhakta Kata Suni Suke, Jiva Sikshe Dina Suyatani. Now, there's a contrast in this verse to the second verse, which is speaking about Lord Jagannath, and how Lord Jagannath is coming as Archa Rupe Avatari. He's coming in the form of the deity. And so in this verse, we're hearing how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is coming in the form of a devotee. We like to say that Jagannath Puri Dham is the Jagannath Puri University of Braj Prem. And this is a place where Mahaprabhu opened a university to teach us how to do bhajan to attain Vrindavan. And in this University of Braj Prem, there's many, many different classrooms, which are each of the different tirthastalis here. And he has different teachers here. These are his devotees. And Mahaprabhu himself is coming as a student in that university. And therefore, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is beginning by stating that Lord Jagannath was Archa Rupi Avatari. He's the deity here. And Mahaprabhu has come in the mood of a devotee. And very beautifully, Bhaktivinoda is describing, very significantly for us in our japa. He's saying that Nana Mate Bhakta Muke Bhakta Kata Suni Suke Jive Sikshadena Suyatani. that Mahaprabhu, he's already established, he's sannyasi rupete Bhagavan, he's Bhagavan in the form of a sannyasi. Now he's come with different devotees, and he's hearing from those devotees. He's sitting and listening, Bhakta Katha Suni Sukhi, with great happiness. He's listening, and by doing that, he's giving these teachings to the living entities. So this is a very, very significant point. This is a foundational point in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Harinam Chintamani. And Bhaktivinoda gives a footnote after that, speaking about, elaborating, explaining how Mahaprabhu was hearing. Through the mouth of Ramananda Roy, he was hearing about rasa. Through the mouth of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he was hearing about what is Moksha Tattva. Through the mouth of Rupa Goswami, he was hearing Rasa Tattva here in Puri. And through the mouth of Haridas Thakur, he heard Nam Tattva. So immediately, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is establishing a point which is also made by Jagadananda Pandit in his Prema Vivarta, very important verse, which this Prema Vivarta, we think of Bhaktivinoda Thakur when we think of Prema Vivarta. Bhaktivinoda Thakur presented this book for the first time to the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. He said it was something that he found. In Prema Vivarta, Jagadananda Pandit describes a very intimate connection between the devotees and the holy name. Sadhu Sangha Krishna Name E Matra Chai Samsara Janete Hai Kono Vastunai. See, the Kono Vastunai, this all that I need are two things, not one thing, but two things. These two things have a very intimate relationship with each other. And if we only take one of them and we neglect the other, then we'll be bereft of both. Those two things are Sadhu Sangha and Krishna Nam. E Matachai, this is all that I desire. Arkona Vasana, this is all that I need. Sangsara Janitya, to defeat Sangsar and cross over the ocean of material existence, is Sadhu Sangha and Krishna Nam. What is the intimate connection between these two? This is something very, very confidential. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's presenting in the very beginning of intimate connection between the devotees of Mahaprabhu and the chanting of the holy name. So we know from Prema Vivarta, from Prema Bhakti Chandrika of Narottam Das Thakur, he says that Sadhu Shastra, Guru Vakya, Chitteti Koriya Aikya, that these three things guide us. And the first of these three things is sadhu. And who is sadhu? Sadhu is someone who speaks Shastra. And by hearing Shastra from sadhu, we get guru. We understand what is guru. So these are in cause and effect. In the first instance, we get sadhu sangha. And by that association with the person, what do we get? We get faith in the holy name. And by that faith in the holy name, then we begin to take up the process of nam bhajan. So ado shraddha tata sadhu sangha tata bhajana kriya. The bhajana kriya is based on our faith in sadhu. When we have faith in sadhu, then we get the holy name. And what do we get from that holy name then? We get deeper sadhu sangha. We understand the devotees in a deeper way. You meet a devotee on the street, and they're just such a nice person. And while they have this far-out book and these far-out ideas, it's really nice. And you go to the temple, and you see, you have some faith in them. You go to the temple, and you see they're chanting. So you also try the chanting. And what's the result of that chanting? You get deeper sadhu sangha. You understand the devotees in a deeper way. Then what's the result of that deeper sadhu sangha? You get deeper Krishna Nam. When you understand, have a deeper connection with the devotees, then you understand something deeper about the holy name. And what do you get from that deeper understanding of the holy name? You get deeper sadhu sangha, which gives you even deeper yet holy name. These two are in cause and effect. And you can't separate one from the other. Huh? Srila Prabhupada, he wrote his own Pranam Mantra. And one of the points that he makes is that nirvisesa shunyavadi paschyata deshatarni, that this world, not just the West, paschyata desha, but the entire world is full of nirvisesa shunyavad. And one of the symptoms of nirvisesa shunyavad is that we think that I don't need anybody else. I can just go directly to Krishna myself. But there's an important verse in the Adi Purana which is quoted by Rupa Goswami in Loga Bhagavatamrita and also in Chaitanya Charitamrita, spoken by Krishna to Arjuna. He says that Ye me bhakta jana parta. My dear Arjuna, you should understand, those persons who say they're my devotee, name bhakta sate janaha, they're not actually my devotee at all. But mad bhaktanam chaye bhaktas te me bhakta tamo mataha. That person who's a devotee of my devotee, that's my real devotee. So this is the foundational point of Harinam Chintamani. You cannot separate the devotees from the holy name. And there's so many points in this regard. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami describes Tate Krishna Bhaja Kori Gururu Sevan. That what is my Krishna Bhajan? My Krishna Bhajan is my service to Gurudev. Rupa Goswami, in his Pajavali, he glorifies the holy name. And he says about the holy name, what is a wonderful thing about the holy name? Atagoro Shi Padadvanva Bhaktim. One of the qualities of the holy name is that it gives you bhakti to Gurudev. You can't separate the holy name from the devotees. And this is the point that Bhaktivinoda Thakur is making in the beginning of Harinam Chintamani. He's saying that here in Jagannath Puri, you have the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Daru Brahma Purusha Pradhan. He's the form of a wood, and he's manifested here. Jive Nishtarite Hari, Archi Rupa Avatar. He's come here to deliver all the living entities. But to help us to understand Lord Jagannath and the process to worship him, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come here to that Dham, say Dhami Sri Chaitanya, Sannyasi Rupite Bhagavan. He's come in the form of a sannyasi, Kalite Je Yuga Dharma, to establish the Yuga Dharma, and he does that, Nija Bhakta Brinda Loy, with his devotees. In fact, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Bhagavan himself, he sits and he listens to his devotees to teach us how to do bhajan, to teach us that if we want to do nam bhajan, we have to respect the devotees. We have to hear from the devotees. Even though Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, he's Sankirtanaika Pitaro Kamalaya Taksha, that lotus-eyed personality who's the father of the Sankirtan movement. Still, he himself hears from the devotees. He hears from Haridas Thakur. Very amazingly, Mahaprabhu is a sannyasi, but he's hearing from someone who's born in a Muslim family, who's Javana Haridas. And he's hearing from him about the holy name. So these are just a few points I just wanted to share with you, just a few thoughts about this foundational principle of Harinam Chintamani. And it's not just a book about the holy name, but it's a book about how to do Nam Bhajan and how the importance of being with the devotees. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur elaborates on that later in other different chapters in Harinam Chintamani. In the first and second chapters, he speaks about the importance of associating with the devotees. In the second chapter, I'll just share one verse with you from Harinam Chintamani. And we'll finish with that. Krishna Nama Bhakta Seva Satata Koribe Krishna Prema Labhata Avasya Horibe Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare. Again, he stresses this thing. There's an intimate connection Krishna Nam, Bhakta Seva. These two things. We chant the holy name of Krishna and we serve the devotees. How do we serve the devotees? By chanting Krishna Nam. What does it mean to chant Krishna Nam? It means we do Bhakta Seva. Satata Koribe. We constantly do these things. And if we do these two things, then Krishna Prema Labha will definitely get Krishna Prema. So I'll go ahead and stop there. And I'd like to invite the devotees, because I want to stress this point. We're stressing so much about the devotees. There's a verse that I practically quote in every one of our talks. It's from the 11th chapter, 11th canto of the Bhagavatam, 11.330, where it's described that Parasparam katanam pavanam bhagavadyasa mita rata mitastushte nevita mita atmana. That we should learn how to associate with devotees. And we associate with devotees by having Paraspara. Paraspara is not a Bhagavatam class. Parasparam is not a lecture in the university. It's certainly not a sermon in the church, and it's definitely not a commercial on television. But Parasparam means there should be back and forth. And in that association, when there's someone speaking as a service, devotees listening as a service, and then sharing their realizations and what they heard, that creates a Vaishnava Sangha. And in that Vaishnava Sangha, we can go very, very deep into the holy name. So I'd like to request the devotees, if they have any reflections, as our dear Vaisheshika Prabhu often comments, did you win a prize? And what prize did you win? You can share that with us if there's something that you heard that was inspiring for you today, or maybe you have some other reflection or some questions about that. So we'll go ahead and stop there. Ujjwala Rasagir, you have something you wanted to comment on? You have to unmute yourself.
Yes, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. My pranams to you. Thank you so much for that katha, Prabhu. Two prizes that I won in your katha today is, one is holy name is everything, but that everything is actually being given by a devotee. Holy name is being given by a devotee. And the glories of the holy name are being sung by a devotee. So I'm just thinking how the holy name and the devotees, as you're saying, are inseparable, because everything about the holy name comes from the devotee. That's one point, Prabhu. Second thing is how holy name, Nam Ruchi and Vaishnava Seva, they're like two sides of a coin. So these are my 2 points, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you. That's very, very important. If that's all anybody gets out of this, then I'm going to dance in great happiness. Okay. Anybody else with any reflections on anything today? It's also really encouraging to the speaker if you give reflections too, because then he understands not everybody fell asleep during the talk. Madhumati, did you have any reflections or anything you want to share?
So overwhelmed. I think I never thought about the first 3 verses that you mentioned sequentially, beginning with Jagannath and then Mahaprabhu. In fact, I want to contemplate a little more on that, because I think we need a lot more. We need to hear a lot more on this particular sequence, because I think we tend to take it for granted that this is just another invocation prayer. But thank you so much. You brought out a very, it's so meaningful, the invocation.
The Chaitanya Charitamrita describes it prati shloke, prati akshare nanata koi. Every verse, every syllable has unlimited meaning in the Bhagavatam and the words of our acharyas. So yeah, we just kind of presented these in a little bit of a one-dimensional way this morning. But you can unpack them quite a bit. It could be a month-long seminar, I think, just on these first 4 verses. It's thank you very much. And actually, I've also heard that this is the proper way we should present Krishna Katha. We should present it, not that you try to present every single point, but you present in a way that devotees can contemplate and find some treasures in a deeper way. Yashoda, do you have something you want to share? It'd be nice
Hare
to
Krishna
see you.
Prabhu, very nice class. I really like the prayers which you recited, and I have a question.
Okay.
Uh, does Jagannath reside in some other planet or his own planet, or does he reside in Goloka?
In the Chaitanya Charitamrita and Madhya Lila chapter 22, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is speaking to Sanatana Goswami, and he speaks about different deities and different planets. And he mentions there that Lord Jagannath has his own planet in the spiritual world.
What's the name of his planet?
Nilachal, or Purushottam, Purushottam Dham. It's Purushottam Dham because it's his own abode. But that place is described in Skanda Purana as Rahasyam Etat Paramam Vishnu Stanam Anuttamam. It's a very, very confidential place. And if we unpacked that, it would take us a long time. I can just say a little something which may confuse you, but Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in his commentaries on the 46th and 47th chapters of the 10th canto, says that there's two chambers of Vrindavan. One is a closed chamber, and that's a chamber of separation. And if we study the teachings of our Goswamis, I would suggest that that closed chamber is a place which Srila Bhaktisiddhanta called Vipralamba Ketra, or the place of separation, which is Jagannath Puri Dham. According to our acharyas, according to Srila Prabhupada, also in Chaitanya Charitamrita, these three places are non-different. Jagannath Puri, Vrindavan, and Mayapur. They're three rooms in the same house, but they have different qualities. So this is a place of separation. It's a place where the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, came in the form of a devotee, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to cry for himself, to do nam-bhajan, to chant his own names and cry for himself, to teach us to do two things, both to taste the holy name himself in the mood of Radharani, and to teach us how to do nam-bhajan. But he's crying in the mood of separation. This is Vipralamba Ketra. Does that make a little more sense, Yashoda? Is that helpful?
Yes, Prabhu, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Very nice question. Thank you, Hare Krishna. You have to come and visit us sometime in Jagannath Puri. We like very much to walk on the little known streets, the back streets in Puri, where Mahaprabhu walked all over, and he did nam-bhajan here. This place, Jagannath Puri Dham, the whole place is permeated, it's scarred with the bhajan of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees. The earth, the trees, the air, you'll find it's been scarred with their nam-bhajan. And if we come here and do bhajan in this holy dham, and in other holy dhams where devotees have done bhajan, we can come in contact with that mood and we can get some benefit. So I will invite everybody, you come walk with us on the back streets of Jagannath Puri sometimes. Ujjwala Rasika was just here recently, but she was only here for a short time because she was not very happy with us, so she left early. Hare Krishna. Anybody else with any other reflections or comments, anything? Abhishek was commented on about pranams. Thanks for giving such deep insight. Hare Krishna. I'll reflect on that a little bit. That, you know, Rupa Goswami in his Nectar of Instruction, he gives his most important instructions. And one of them is that if you want to develop bhakti, you have to do guyam akyati prichati. You have to have exchanges that are very intimate. And if we think about that, that's such a foundational principle in bhakti. We come to the temple not just because we see a poster on the wall. Sometimes somebody does. You see a poster, you hear something about something going on and you go there. But generally we go because we had some connection with somebody. And it was an intimate, sweet connection that we felt inspired by. And based on that intimate connection, we're inspired to go. We all need that. We need that kind of nourishment. Now, what's intimate is different in different places. We give a Sunday feast talk and maybe we speak about vegetarianism. But when you have a Japa talk with devotees, I hope you don't have to speak about vegetarianism because I think everybody here is a vegetarian. I would hope so. It's not a very confidential thing. We need things where we feel like, oh, this person's sharing something very deep and thoughtful with us. That's our business as devotees. It's not just that we repeat in a parrot-like way, but we should repeat something based on our nam bhajan that we've had and our connection with our Gurudev based on our own personal realization. We like to hear people's realization, and it may be a brand new person who just walked in off the street to the temple. But we want to hear their realization. They may say, wow, this is the most amazing place I've ever been. You people are so beautiful, and there's so many flowers and such a nice fragrance. And we're so delighted to hear that realization, that very simple realization, because that's coming from their heart. Whereas if someone just comes and says, you know, Harinama, Harinama, Harinama eva kevalam, and they just repeat some shloka in a parrot-like fashion, that's okay, but we're not inspired by that. So this is a very, very important principle in bhakti, that we should have discussions like this where we share our own personal realizations, and everybody has some realization. Even the person who walks in off the street and says, wow, it's really clean. The temple's so clean and the flowers smell so good. That's their realization. That's beautiful. And they can share that with us, and we're inspired by that. Okay? So, let's see. Maharati Prabhu has commented, thank you for a wonderful class. Could you please describe more how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is reviving tattva to hearing from the devotees like Nam Tattva from Haridas Thakur, etc. This is a very, very deep principle. It's not just that this is the method that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chose to teach us. That's there. But there's something deeper behind it. Because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Radha Baba Duti Suvalitam Nomi Krishna Sarupam. He's Krishna, but he's Krishna who's gone suddenly where no man has gone before, as they say about the old Star Trek films, right? He's in a place where nobody can understand. And what is that place? That's the realm of the Bhav of Srimati Radharani. And he can't understand that. So for him to understand that mood, he has to take on her mood. He has to take on the mood of a devotee. But what does it mean to be a devotee? Bhakti stu bhagavad bhakta sangena parijayate. It's described in Brihanaradiya Purana that bhakti comes from a devotee. So when Mahaprabhu wants to taste the bhakti, of Radharani, he has to become a bhakta, and he has to get the blessings of the devotees. And so he wants to hear from Haridas Thakur. And by hearing from him, he's doing two things. He's teaching us, he's doing loka siksha, but he's simultaneously fulfilling his own inner desire. Because he's Bhagavan. He's a Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's Priti Vishroy, in a technical term. He's a supreme object of love. Whereas the devotees, technically, are known as Priti Ashray. They're the abode of love. So just as the night can't understand the sunshine, or the sunshine can't understand the night because they're opposites, so also how can Bhagavan, the supreme object of love, understand the abode of love unless he himself becomes a devotee? So to do that, he has to become a devotee, he has to surrender to devotees, he has to hear from the devotees. And we can unpack that a lot further also, but this is just a little quick answer to your question. I hope that's helpful. Let's see here. Vaikuntanand Prabhu is also given some comment. Can you please explain more about Sadhu Sangha? What are the different avenues of Sadhu Sangha one can take advantage of? Well, the main avenue of Sadhu Sangha that we want to take advantage of is Krishna Nam. Sadhu Sangha Krishna Nam. And if we're coming to the sadhu and we're not hearing Krishna Nam, then we're not really doing Sadhu Sangha. Jiva Goswami in Gopal Champu, he speaks a verse which my Guru Maharaj would often quote. It speaks about 7 different persons who bring pain to the heart. Nirpo Narihari Sevata, a king who doesn't serve Krishna, a miser who he has money but he doesn't offer anything to Krishna, Vyaya Kriti Naharyarpaka, Kavi Nahari Varnaka, someone who's a poet but they don't glorify Krishna. You get 7 different persons. But the 4th person is Shrita Guru Naharashritaha. Someone who takes shelter of Guru, but they don't take shelter of Krishna. That person is just like a spear in the heart. It brings pain to the heart. They're making some show of serving Guru or serving the devotees or associating with the devotees, but they're not associating with devotees at all. Excuse me, let me take a throat lozenge. There's a beautiful section. We give a whole seminar for a week on this topic. We call it Sadhu Sangha Krishna Nam. In the Prema Vilas, written by Nityananda Das, the disciple of Janava Mata, in the 11th Vilas, 11th chapter of that book, he speaks about a conversation between Lokanath Goswami and Narottam Das Thakur. And Lokanath speaks to him about the essence of the Krishna Nam and how that Nam comes and who can receive that Nam. And he says there that Hena Roga Dhura Kori Krishna Bhakta Rupe. That this rogue, this disease, this material disease is cured by Krishna. When Krishna comes, Bhakta Rupe, when Krishna comes in the form of a devotee. And who is that? That's Gurudev. Krishna Namadile Hoyena Guru Swarupe. Krishna assumes the form of a devotee and he gives the holy names as Guru. So we should see our Gurudev is Sakshat Didit Vinastamasta Shastra. He's none different from Krishna. But then, a few verses later, I'll sing this with you. It's such a beautiful verse. Lokanath Goswami tells Narottam Das Thakur, Harinama Sarive Guru Sange Taki Sada Vaishnavera Sange Lova Koriba Saivata. He says that if you want to get the holy name, now, wait a minute, you may say, excuse me, just a few verses before, you talked about the holy name, how the holy name is given by Gurudev. But now you're saying that if you want to get the holy name, but you just told us that you've already gotten the holy name from Gurudev, it means a deeper understanding of the holy name, a deeper vision of the holy name, a deeper vision of the holy name. Harinama Saribe Guru Sange Taki Sada. That to do that, you have to stay close to Gurudev. And the second thing, Vaishnavera Sange Loba Koribe Sarvata. You should be very greedy to always associate with devotees. But what does that association with the devotees mean? It means chanting the holy name. It doesn't mean going to the movies together. In this day and age, you may say we take prasadam together, we read Srimad Bhagavatam together, we do deity worship together. That's very good. But Jiva Goswami in Bhakti Sandarbha, he says that in this age, everything has to be connected with the holy name. You may also be doing other practices, other aspects of Navavidhi Bhakti, ninefold processes of devotional service. But he says that all of them have to be connected with the holy name. That holy name is the life of the deity worship. That holy name is the goal and the life of reading Srimad Bhagavatam. It's the purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is a Nam Purana. It's a book which is all about the holy name. Either Anvaya or Vatirekabhyam, directly or indirectly, the entire Srimad Bhagavatam is about the holy name. When we take prasadam, what is the strength of our being able to offer prasadam? It's the holy name. And when we're taking prasadam, what is the benefit we want to get from taking prasadam? It's the holy name. And what do we do when we take prasadam? Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says that one should take prasadam up to the neck, kunti bhojan. And why stop at the neck? There's a reason. Our Vaishnavas have described, because you leave a little room for chanting. And we see in Vaishnav Sanghas, and traditionally in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and I've seen here in Puri just a few days ago, we were taking prasadam at Tota Gopinath temple with many Babajis and Goswamis and different Vaishnavas here at the time of Rath Yatra. And while they're taking prasadam, many of them are chanting out, Krishna, Krishna, hey Gopinath, hey Govinda, hey Jagannath. So we taking prasadam, the strength of that prasadam is the holy name. The goal of that prasadam is namruchi. And the activity of taking that prasadam while we're taking prasadam is the holy name. So really the holy name is everything. And the holy name is the essence of our association with devotees. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he sings in another song, Kali kukur kadanjari chao he, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to chastise the dog of Kali Yuga. And how did he do that? By giving the holy name. Because if we don't have that holy name, then we're going to quarrel. And we see in different sanghas sometimes devotees, if they're just doing fundraising, even if they're doing temple worship, they're building a temple, they're worshiping the deities, sometimes quarrel comes in. But when we're chanting the holy name in your marriage, in your family life, in your sangha with the devotees, then we can really overcome this age of Kali, this quarrel. Is that okay? I hope that's a little helpful. If I could not, that's another big topic. And I can't say your name right, please excuse me. Dilukshini, I hope that's right. She said, so much nectar. I remember Srila Prabhupada saying how devotees come together and discuss about Krishna from different angles, just like scientists come together and discuss different scientific topics. Churning the nectar. Remembering also the fruit that Sukadeva Goswami bit and made sweeter and which had been passed down. I also had a question, is there any etiquette when sharing realizations? How should devotees engage in Parasparam? Very nice question, thank you. That's also a big topic. Our Shastra, our teachings of our acharyas are so wonderful. They're an unlimited ocean that we can dive into and go very deep, and we should. So there's a kind of etiquette. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he says in Chaitanya Charitamrita that Sanatana Goswami, he addresses him as the embodiment of Vaishnava etiquette, because he knew how to give respect to others. And Bhaktivinoda, in his song Gurudev Kripa Bindu Diya, he says that Deho Nata Jata Jata, that I should learn to give proper respect to everyone according to their position. What does it mean when we go out and we do book distribution? It means that we go out and we share something. You can only share something with someone that you love. It means that we go out and we appreciate people. And we say, oh, you're such a beautiful, wonderful person. You're so let me share this wonderful gift with you. It's not speaking down to someone, but you're sharing that with that person, and you're respecting them. That respect is the basis of our entire culture. That's our civilization is culture of respect. But Deho Nata Jata Jata, with that new person you give them respect and love. But if a sannyasi comes, a senior devotee comes, your Guru Maharaj comes, we give them more respect, and especially Gurudev. Narottam Das Thakur has taught us that when we do our Nam Bhajan, we begin with prayers to Gurudev. And then we offer prayers to the Vaishnavas, and then to Nityananda Prabhu, and then to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then to Radha Krishna. We don't offer to the Vaishnavas before Gurudev, because our Gurudev is our Sambandha Datta. He's that personality who is our connection with Krishna. Our Gurudev is also our connection with the Vaishnavas. We can't understand or appreciate the Vaishnavas unless we have the mercy of Gurudev. But also, Gurudev's not pleased unless we associate properly with the Vaishnavas. And therefore, we're reading these verses from Lokanath Goswami to Narottam, that if you want to get the holy name, and I didn't finish this point, I got distracted. If you really want to get the holy name, you have to stay close to Gurudev, and Vaishnavera Shangi Loba Koribe Sarvata. You have to constantly seek out association of the Vaishnavas. Because if you don't do that, then Gurudev's not pleased. Then you're just a cult member. Maybe you have a 12-foot high photograph of your Gurudev on your wall at home. Maybe you have his badge on your bead bag and you have t-shirts with his picture on it. But Gurudev is not appreciative of all that respect and worship if you can't appreciate the Vaishnavas. And we appreciate the Vaishnavas by chanting the holy names with them. So there's an etiquette there. And that etiquette, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in his book, Chaitanya Siksamrita, it's another big topic. He speaks about 8 different reasons why we give respect. Naramatara Maryada. Anybody who's a human being you should respect. But more than that, we give respect to Sabhyatara Maryada, someone who's a civilized person. But more than that, we give respect to Raja Maryada, someone who's a king or who has some position. He's a temple president. They have some position. But more than that, Vidya Maryada, we give respect to someone who has knowledge. Knowledge is a very important thing. But even more than knowledge, we give respect Sadguna Maryada, someone who has good qualities. But even more respect than that, he says, we give respect to Varna Maryada, someone who's following Varna, and they're acting according to their position in a nice way. But even more respect than that, we give to Ashram Maryada. Very few people live in an ashram or act according to an ashram. And amongst those persons who follow an ashram, we give the most respect to the sannyasis. That's the 7th position of respect. But the 8th position, the topmost level of respect, Bhaktivinoda says, is Bhakti Maryada. We give respect to someone who has bhakti, and that may be a child. Just like we read in the Brihanyardiya Purana, there's a story of Parasparam Muni coming before Markandeya Rishi, and there was an assembly of rishis. And in that assembly, rishis, Markandeya Rishi was leading because he was over 7 kalpas old. And in that assembly, there was Narad Muni, and there was the Sapta Rishis, and all these very senior people. And then Parasparam Muni comes. Parasparam Muni was 7 years old when he entered that assembly, but Markandeya Rishi stood up and gave more respect to that little 7-year-old boy than he did to the Sapta Rishis and everyone there. And everyone became confused, and the little boy, Parasparam Muni, kind of freaked out. What are you doing? I'm just a little boy. Why are you giving respect to me? This is not good. You shouldn't do that. And Markandeya Rishi, then he said, who do we give more respect to? A 1,000-year-old sequoia tree in California, or a 3-day-old tulsi plant? We give respect to the tulsi plant, not according to age, but we give respect according to bhakti. And he told Parasara that we judge bhakti by how much someone has thought of Krishna. And although you're only 7 years old, in your 7 years, Markandeya Rishi told him, you've thought more about Krishna, you've been more absorbed thinking about Krishna than all of us put together in all of our vast yugas that we've been living. So we give more respect to you. So I hope that's a little helpful. I think we're going a little bit over time for everybody, is it, Madhumati, Mataji? I don't want to get in trouble.
Keeping a record of time. Thank you so much for this nectar, Prabhuji. But maybe anybody else has a question? Yes. Anybody has a comment or a question or reflection? I don't know about you. Your time, we're taking up your time.
We're okay. We have our tea in 10 minutes, generally. Around now. Okay, so thank you very much for having such a wonderful Sangha. It's very inspiring to me to think about devotees coming together in small, intimate groups that are not just formal things. But my humble request to you, I'm coming and giving some of my time, and I have one humble request. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says, Radha Krishna bol bol bolare sobai. This is the only request that I have. I have other requests than just that. My request is that you do this Parasparam. And maybe even as a rule, you try, if you have a small Sangha with 6 or 8 devotees, but everybody should have a few minutes to share something. And you should force yourself to think about what was being said, and you share something. You'll find that it'll help you very much as individuals in your Nam-bhajan and as a community together. So thank you so much for creating such a beautiful community. I greatly appreciate it. Hare Krishna.
Jai
Srila Prabhupada.
Madhavananda.
Jai.
Samaveda Bhakta Vinda Ki Jai Vamsha Kalpa Virubhishcha Kripa Sindhu Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnava Ananda Kori Vaishnava Vinda Ki Jai.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.